the Louis Diaz podcast.
Troy King.
You.
Should I turn the neon sign on? I think we need to.
Yes, absolutely. We need that. Oh, there we go.
Ooh, now we're
Boom.
fired up.
Now it's real.
Yeah, now it is. Welcome back.
We have a light. I love it.
Troy King. Yeah, welcome back to the Louis Diaz podcast, my friend.
Mate, I am so happy to be here. I feel privileged to be called back, so soon as well.
I feel privileged that you said yes to coming back.
I've
been wanting to have you back.
Oh, we had such a great time, mate. I've been watching through those clips and excerpts that you're putting up, and I'm going, oh, wow, geez, we covered everything.
We did a lot.
Yeah, and it's so good. So
yeah.
good. I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Why don't you introduce yourself a little? I never introduce my guests. I don't like the vibe of a host going, and then this person is this, and this person did that. But for those of you that are listening to the first time, hey, welcome back to my listeners, by the way. Welcome back to Hosier Lane. And also, you're recording with me here for the first time, because the first time we did it was back in my old office.
Back in the office with the cleaners
That's
opening
right.
and
You remember
closing the
that.
doors.
You remember that?
It was a lovely setting, but when you first told me about this, I was like, really? But now, in seeing it in action and seeing the other guests on, I've gone, oh, that's so cool.
That's a vibe.
I mean, this is an amazing lane. It's a centre of, Melbourne, isn't it? And
yeah, you're right. It's a leveller. That's what I like about this lane. Right there's a place called The Living Room that looks after homeless people.
Oh, magnificent.
And then you've got all of these tourists.
You've got Culture Kings, you've got Movida,
Wealth. You've got wealth walking through. It's and what I love is just that it's a level playing field. You know, it doesn't matter who you are. There's some part of Melbourne culture walking through this lane.
And the amazing art, throughout these streets. It just, blows you away. And it changes so regularly. It's a living dynamic, a living art sculpture,
That's true.
piece.
It does.
It's great.
And that's like the accidental genius part about me choosing this spot as a recording studio, I suppose.
Yeah.
Is that every time I come here, well, not every time, but once every 6 weeks, someone's completely overhauled this little cave.
Yeah.
And so,
It's
I'm coming into a fresh new studio.
It's awesome.
It's cool, huh? Yeah.
Cool. The workers have been in. They've painted it for me.
I know.
Yeah.
It's wild. I never planned any of this, I'm here because I couldn't afford a studio, essentially, so I just came to the street where I feel at home.
Yeah.
I feel at home in the street.
And this is a great spot in Melbourne. You get a lot of wedding couples. They do their photography up and down this laneway. And when I was doing that on the side, I remember one particular wedding, amazing Tongan and Samoan wedding. There was 450 guests. There was 18 people in the bridal party. It was
really?
And big rugby playing fellas. And it was a hot day like today, and they're wearing 3-piece suits. One guy's just carrying a towel, just constantly mopping.
Wow. Was that here?
Yeah, it was. And we came here for the photo shoot, but you can't get 18 people spread across the laneway to get them all walking up. So we had to do some interesting shoots and things like that. And my little mate Shazza, she was on the photography. I was doing the video. And so we're trying to sort of mix it up and get him walking up. And we had the girls were looking magnificent. They had these bright red dresses on, and the boys are all sort of dressed up in these massive blokes. And so we go, okay, boys, let's give us some swag, because they were just bored. They just wanted to hook into the beers and stuff like that, and they were hot. So they throw the coats over the arm, and they're walking up the street, just, trying to give it some swag. We had them in a bit of a flying V formation sort of thing coming up. And I swear quite a few of them had ADHD, because it was so hard to direct them, especially when you're herding cats. It's hard enough with 18 people, but the 9 guys were the worst. The girls were pretty good. And then one of the final photos that Shazza got, the boys are all coming up. They've got their swag on. It's a great shot. And there's a wheelie bin like this sitting there. And in this beautiful photo of the bridal party, one dude's just looking in the wheelie bin. They're walking up. It's the bridal shoot. It's the wedding shoot, dude. Pay attention for 30 freaking seconds.
What are you looking for, bro?
I don't know.
What are you looking for in there?
Because in this laneway, there's a lot of smells.
You'll find some interesting things in that wheelie bin. There's one right there.
Yeah.
I can tell you.
Yeah.
It's not pleasant.
So that was one of the funniest ones. But
That's funny.
So yeah, introduction.
Yeah, because now you're giving us insight into one of the many lives that you've lived.
Yeah.
And you mentioned beers, by the way. I should tell the
Yes.
audience you brought us some zero alcohol beers,
Some heaps normal.
despite
We're not sponsored. Not sponsored, by the way.
We're not affiliated with
We
Heaps
figured
Normal.
if we're in the street, we'll have some zero beers. But there's also
That's
some
good.
habit stuff that I'll talk about, which is the purpose of the
Oh,
beers.
good.
We'll get into
Oh,
that.
I like that. Yeah, you're going to integrate the gift that you brought, or the
Yes.
food gift that you brought, with and I suggested beers because you were like, it's going to be hot, and I was
Yeah.
like, well, better change that to cold beers. But also, yeah, I got to tell the audience, it doesn't matter what I drink. If I drink too much, I need to pee.
So we may have a pause.
But it's hot, and these are ice cold, so I'm tempted to drink it, but I also don't want to drink it too much.
But we'll take a pause if we need
wet
to.
myself.
You know,
No, it'll
go
just
down a
run
fence
down
quick.
my leg. It'll just let it run down my leg into
Wouldn't be
the
the first time in Hosier Lane.
It wouldn't be the first time in my life that's happened.
Speaking of hidden secrets.
I told a story back in episode 47 with comedian Stephen Bradshaw about the time I was in a children's choir, and I asked the conductor halfway through a show if I could go to the toilet, and she said no. Little did she know that she was standing right next to my puddle by the end of the concert.
Well, remind me of that because I'll come back to one of my, not so great stories back in the day. But yeah, from an introduction, who is Troy King? Well, he's a dad, he's a dog owner, an adventurous person, a traveller. One of my hobbies used to be jumping face first off the top of buildings.
That's right.
After I'd thrown people
Rap
off
jumping.
them. Yeah, so we called it rap jumping. It was basically face first abseiling, and just an amazing sport. And I've actually, you've just reminded me, I nearly forgot.
What is that?
Well, this here is a figure of 8.
Yes, it looks like a figure of 8, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't have called it that by name.
But we'll come back to that. So
Okay.
that remind me on the rap jumping.
Okay.
You know how
geez.
I go 10 tangents.
I'm going to have to write all these things that
Yeah,
I need
yeah,
to remind
well,
you
you
of
got a
down.
pad. Come
I
on,
do.
let's
I've
go,
got a
let's
pad
go.
down there.
So yeah,
Giving away my secrets.
I've reinvented my career multiple times. I did landscape gardening, architectural model making. When I got out of school, there was a bit of a recession, so just whatever career I could do. I was a concreter. I worked for a party hire business. I worked as a chippy. And then one day at the ripe old age of about 26, and I was on my hands and knees troweling off a driveway, and I'm seeing a lovely 65-year-old Italian gentleman there with his hands all sort of crippled, and
Oh, yeah.
and he's getting down in his hands and knees and troweling off the floor of the extension that we'd just done. I'm going, Louis, what are you doing? And his name was Louis,
Oh,
actually.
you kidding? Okay. I
Louis,
thought you were
I said,
talking to me for a second.
No, Louis, what are you doing, mate? Just give it another half an hour and use the troweling machine. And Louis like, no, I want to go home. So he's doing this, and I'm going, it's killing me at 26. I don't want to do this for another 40 years. So I put myself through night school, got into to IT, and then was an IT manager for many years, and then in project management and change management. Now studied neuroscience, and so for the last 5 years or so, that's sort of been at the forefront of my work. So whether it's about change management or projects or business transformations, human-centered design, that's obviously sort of one of the areas that is really natural for me.
Yeah.
And recently had a wonderful experience with Salesforce with their human-centered change team.
Okay.
Just magnificent.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really lovely. It was unfortunate. It was a bit of a short-lived contract because the client cancelled the project just as we were getting up to speed, as happens. But what a lovely exposure that I had to this amazing team and their amazing methodology. So
you like in your life, you've really flexed the muscle of reinventing yourself. It's funny because I was talking about this with someone the other day, like the concept of getting out of our comfort zones. And so when people think about getting out of your comfort zone, they think about all the ways in which they can get out of their comfort zone, but they don't actually think about getting out of your comfort zone as a muscle that you're flexing on its own.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the thing that I sort of reflect on about you is that with all of these different jobs, careers, life paths that you've taken, you have really practiced reinvention.
Yeah.
You are so well practiced at reinvention. It's remarkable, actually.
And it means that the good thing about it is that you have so many different perspectives to pull on. You know, like I can build a house, I can build a computer network in it, I can cook, I can have people over and have a great barbecue, I can teach them and train them on technical stuff, or I can teach them about what their brain is doing and give them some counselling.
Wow.
And, the weird shit that our brain does.
And once AI is taken over and it's old news,
Yeah.
and we start cloning ourselves. Imagine cloning a Troy king and having like 6 Troys, one, hammering away, building the house, another one putting the computer network together.
I see. I should have worn my Skynet T-shirt.
That'll be a formidable experience.
Quick, get me a Troy. I need one.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's so multifaceted. Yeah. And so for anyone listening to this and you want to listen to the first episode where they can catch up more on like all the things like rap jumping we talked a lot about, go back to episode
the cult.
44, Escaping the Cult. That was fun.
That was good.
That was
good.
really fun.
And it's been it's sort of this core thing, and let's see if we sort of go there today with some of the tangents and stuff. But
Yep.
It's been a bit of a driving force when it comes to reinvention.
Yep.
That's also part of the thing that you really appreciate the components of neuroplasticity that we have to be able to reinvent ourselves and to rewire and to try new things and to dive into it.
Well, then you'll need to re-explain neuroplasticity for a second because you can put 2 and 2 together. The concept's in the title, in the name. Just a quick one to refresh. Neuroplasticity is?
Well, our brain's capability to rewire itself and relearn or learn new things. So, for example, growing up in a cult, I was taught that this is the only
Very
thing
relatable. Very
this
relatable.
is the only thing that you should believe, and there is nothing else. This is the truth, and everything else is a lie. Now, we see a lot of that going on in the world today. We're seeing a real separation of that in-group, out-group bias that is very big in our brains.
That's true.
And it can be a real limiter on when people are told, well, you don't need to learn that because that's the evil side.
Yeah.
Who would want the left and the right and blah, blah, blah. There's political sort of stuff around that.
That's true.
But when you open yourself up to new concepts and to be able to learn both sides of an argument, well, then you have much more capability to add, the scientific method to all of that, and to be able to do it. So the one thing about neuroplasticity is that people, even that have had brain injuries, can, and they've lost some capabilities. The brain is just amazing in being able to work around those blockers and to be able to do things. So you spoke about that experiment where they had the glasses that flipped and turned things upside down and back to front and right. And then when they took those glasses off, it still took their brain a while to come back to
readjust.
Even though that was something that they'd known for most of their life.
Aha. So it kind of goes out with the old, in with the new, and then it sort of replaces the old in a way, and then suddenly you don't know any different. Ooh, I like that concept.
There's an old analogy, and I suppose it applies to a lot of different things when it comes to our brain, when it comes to creating neural pathways. You think of a grass paddock, and people have been walking through one particular section, and it wears a path.
Yep, I've got a path like that near my house.
Yeah, now someone blocks that, and so now we'll naturally see a new path being formed. In fact, there was a famous landscape architect. I can't remember the name right now, but there was a philosophy around when doing landscape architecture, don't design the paths to what you think you want for design as a human-centered design. Just put the lawns and everything down and then wait until you see the paths that humans choose through that, and you start to see the where, then create the paths according to the natural human way. So with our brain will naturally form pathways where there are blockers, depending on what we expose it to.
My path is back door to the hills hoist and back again to the washing line.
And there's the habit loop, sort of thing. But if you start walking around the yard, so you'll see where if you got a dog, you'd probably see a trail around the outside along the fence, especially if there's other dogs on either side.
No, that was me chasing the ball. Oh gosh, it's so good to have you here, man. With that comment, and I don't want to change the subject too much, but the comment that I made about you being really, an expert in reinvention, I suppose, from you've been there, done that so many times. I was sort of taking some notes down. I was like, I got Troy back. I don't like to make this podcast too scripted, especially when I have someone like you. I know when we start talking, we'll just keep talking.
We don't need no script. We don't need no plan.
There's going to be value there, and that's one thing for the audience is like, in life, you don't get value necessarily from things straight away spoon-fed to you. You got to derive your own value, and sometimes you just need to be patient in order to do that, which is very anti-social media because everything's getting shorter and shorter. But anyway, I'm going on a tangent. What I wrote down was that you have stood the test of time.
Oh, thanks, man.
And I think the reinvention is part of that, right? That you've continued to sort of keep things interesting in your life by doing new things and trying new things and learning new things for so long. But you know what it was that made me think that Troy King has stood the test of time?
What's that, man?
Like, it's your smile. It's the way that you laugh. Like, it's your energy. It's your enthusiasm for the things that you talk about. When I look at people, us older people, I guess I'm 40 now, we're moving into, we've got battle scars.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
those battles, they create scars, but also they sort of tend to wear down the enthusiasm in you. Life's problems can get heavy from time to time. And I know that you have your own, mental health challenges, like we all do, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
But just the energy that you emit, it's not normal, Like, your enthusiasm levels are through the roof for someone who's got as much life experience as you have.
And as many battle scars.
Yeah.
Like it hasn't been easy.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, did we leave? Did we?
He's left his pack. I was wondering what that was. I'm glad you remembered.
Didn't even realise. Good on you, Nick.
Good on you, Nick.
No, it's great, and I love, it's not, look, I don't throw out flattery. I don't do flattery, but like, I like to give credit where it's due. And
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's just one thing I was reflecting on.
Yeah, and I think it's very easy to get lost in the battle scars. And it's also one of the things that I love around that neuroplasticity is that we can get stuck in that vortex of doom and hurt and anger and hate. And we see so many people do that, and I'm thinking of some ex-wives here.
Yeah.
No. But we can get stuck in those vortexes of anger, and those can hold us back. But the wonderful thing that we can do is we can make a choice.
Yeah, a choice. That's so true.
We can choose to be happy. We can choose to look for wonderful things in life, and we can choose to go, well, I can't control other people's behaviour. Yes, it's affecting me, and it's really having a big impact and getting me down.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes, where I need to take a day or two and just let that hurt wash over me. And I'll have a little bit of a routine where I'll do that, and it might be nowadays.
Explain it. Give us your routine.
Nowadays it might be around, my dog. I have a beautiful border collie called Neo, and
is he new?
Oh no, he's 2.5.
Yeah.
But he's been
the new car smell's wearing off.
Yeah, and like he's found his mojo now,
Yeah.
But he's been a focal point of good, positive energy, and the wonderful things about dogs, love and happiness and the things that they give you. And border collies, they take work. You've got to keep them mentally stimulated. You've got to keep them physically stimulated. And he holds me to account, So going through some battles, he is the one that sort of helped me keep smiling and keep happy and things, even when I am down. And there's times where he knows I'm having one of those tough days, and he'll come over to me. And he's not a very cuddly sort of dog, but he'll come over and he'll just lean his face against me, and he'll just lean into me and give me a cuddle. And then you go, oh, that's really nice, mate. Thank you. And I'll give him some kisses, and then he'll lick his balls. Or he'll go and get a toy and just throw it on my lap and say, right, okay, get over yourself. We're going outside. Throw the tennis ball for me, dude. Or throw me the frisbee, or just play tug of war with me. Do something. And and so it's sort of got to snap you out of it. But before him, I would have this little routine where I would, especially in the evening, I'd cook up a really lovely steak and I'd prepare it to perfection, I'd do some potato gems and stuff, and just like, it's not exactly the healthiest meal, but it's a comfort thing for me, and I'd do a bit of suave, sort of sauce with it, or do the old butter and rosemary
sauce. What is that?
Oh, like you mix up some Worcestershire, some red wine, bit of umami, get a bit of chili in there and stuff like that, and ketchup menace. You got to get a bit of dark soy, sort of thing. Yeah, a bit of sweet, bit of sour, bit of salty, sort of thing. And then I'd sit down and I'd put a movie on. Now there was a number of years going through some very hard stuff, long time ago. And I would watch 300.
Oh, that film.
Gerard Butler.
The Spartans.
Spartans.
Spartans, prepare for glory.
I'm still working on my Spartan rig, by the way.
Eat hearty tonight. For tomorrow we dine in hell.
I only watched it a few hundred times. But
300 to be exact.
300 times. But there was this thing about the movie, it was all blood and gore, but there was amazing cinematography and all that sort of stuff. But there was about going up against some of those battles, that you can't necessarily win, but it's for the benefit of those that you love, that you will stick with it and you will hold the line. And there was something about that of, I can only control what I can control, and I can control this, couple of meters in front of me and around me, and I can control the decisions that I make and how I react to things. Now, I haven't always been, good with that. There's been times where, in the past, I've struggled with a really bad temper. When I was growing up, I had a really bad temper when Mum died. Mum died when I was 22. I'd been her primary carer for a long time.
Right.
I was a very angry young man after that, because nothing about it was fair. She was a beautiful, beautiful, empathetic, lovely woman.
Yeah.
Shit driver, but beautiful, and it's a wonderful thing that I've sort of been able to teach my kids, is that superpower of empathy, and it's something that sticks with me. And it's, where does my essence come from? Well, that's a bit of my North Star. So where does my enthusiasm come from?
Yeah.
It comes from my care and my empathy for others, and
that came from her.
Yeah. So
I love that.
for me, I get to live out, her memory and her qualities by being an enthusiastic and by being a happy person, and learning from that. And the neuroscience stuff has really helped me. There's that quote.
She's left a legacy in your life,
and I
in the
think,
world, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And
as long as you're alive, her legacy lives on.
Yeah, and I've already passed it on to my kids, sort of thing. So that
And passing it on to our viewers and listeners.
Yeah, Viktor Frankl, between stimulus and response, there is space, and it's in that space that we have our power, because we have the power of choice to show our growth. The last bit there might have been just single quotes, not double quotes, but I love that component because, having gone through a lot of hard times, and now, at the ripe old age of, what am I now, 54, being in a really healthy relationship, and it took till I was, sort of 50 to find that.
Yep.
Now, I can really live that, where you've got someone who loves you and supports you, and you love and support each other.
Yeah.
You don't have these unrealistic expectations that that other person is going to give you happiness, which was something we talked about in the last episode as well. And you get to be able to feed off all the good stuff and give the good stuff to each other. And then when hard times come, you can provide the support, and we can provide the grounding for each other. My partner's just had some incredible opportunities in this last sort of, few months. And, there was a lot of imposter syndrome and self-doubt. And it's like, no, babe, you got this, and I leant in and I did a beautiful presentation for her to be able to sort of take this. And, and she ended up being able to land this amazing job,
Awesome.
And likewise, when I've gone through hard times with custody battles and things like that, and some health stresses and some injuries and stuff, she's had some injuries, I've had some, we're getting old. We've been there to support one another, we've looked after one another, and we've provided that care. And so it's very rare that you then have disagreements, you'll always have the little things, and we've sort of made a bit of a choice in that we still live separately, because we have a space to go to.
Like that.
We have a space where we can have, our time if we need it, but then we can come back together and share about it. Like she goes off and she'll have some adventures with her friends, and I'll have some with mine, and then we come back, we talk all excitedly about it, and we get to share that enthusiasm, with one another. And then we'll do all these wonderful things together. We had a trip to Adelaide, but she had to, she had to sort of go and see family, and after a week or so, that was sort of starting to, wear and tear.
Yeah.
And then I was able to sort of get there and sort of provide a bit of a support. And she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad you're here." And then at the same time, she was starting to go into survival mode. So she was getting a little bit short, with her daughter and with me. And I'm going, "Babe, we weren't actually criticising you. You're taking it that way." And she's going, "Oh yeah, okay."
It sounds like you have a good support network around you.
Yeah,
Like between the dog and the partner, you've got some good healthy habits that you're building that you're aware of as well.
And I've got
the awareness.
My eldest son and his daughter-in-law, they're absolutely fantastic. They live with me. They're getting ready to move out this year, so that's going to be really exciting for them.
For you. Walk around the house naked again. Look out. Troy's going to be doing the helicopter around the house all on his own. No one will be able to see it.
Puppetry of the penis. Yeah. My dog will be going, "Dad, what are you doing?"
I was
Can't
gonna
do that
say,
now because there's a doggy cam. You
Yeah,
know, that,
yeah.
that'll just scare everyone. No, like it's really wonderful to see their growth, and you know, I think the wonderful thing is that I now have this capability of choosing friends that I know that I love to go and see them, and I love to spend time with them, and I feel like after I've spent time with them, I'm a better person for it. And that's the sign of an amazing friendship. You know, if someone's telling you to do negative things or to get back at that person or to do that, why would you want that negativity in life? Surround yourself with entrepreneurial people,
Yeah.
with people
Yeah.
that, you know, give you, they speak some hard truths to you. You know, like I've got one of my mates, Kel, you know, we worked together many years and she was a great support.
Kelly McGonigal. Did you mention her?
Kelly McGonigal was
That's a
a
different one.
psychiatrist. Yeah,
Okay.
that's I've never met her, but no, I've got this amazing mate.
Hey, Kel.
Hey, Kel, and her lovely partner Steve, and Steve went through a lot of similar things that I did with custody battles and stuff like that. And I actually used to get Kel to write some of my SMSs in the early sort of part of my divorce.
Right.
Because I wasn't getting responses to
SMS
things.
copywriter. There's another role for me.
Yeah. So I was worked up. The things were emotional. I'd been really hurt and you know taken to the cleaners. And so I'd message Kel and say, "Oh, this is what I want to achieve," and you know I was going to write this, and she came back with something totally different.
Yeah.
Now, every time I sent one of Kel's messages, I got a positive response. Anytime I sent one of my messages, no matter how nicely I thought that I'd put it, I never got a response, or I got a really harsh response. That's an amazing
Women
friend.
just know each other.
Yeah. But at the same time, you know, like
Speaking a woman's language.
yeah, Cal and Steve and I sort of don't get to catch up, you know, all of the time. But when we do, it's like it was yesterday.
That's great.
And you know, Cal said to me, you know, I know that if I was ever in any sort of trouble at any point in time, I could just pick up the phone and call you, and you'd be there for me. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know, and I'm very privileged to know. You know, there's other people that have sort of said that to me as well. They know that I'll turn up.
Yeah.
You know, my best mate James is literally sort of giving me the shirt off his back and giving me work and put me up on his couch and all sorts of things. You know, there is no better you know,
that's
mate
so
and
true.
brother. You know, from a different mother. You know, even his mum and dad have adopted me as their fourth child. You know, sort of
Friendship.
thing. Yeah, no, just beautiful
So
people.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you spend time with them and you just feel wonderful for that.
Ah, that's great, man.
Yeah.
That's great.
And of course, my mate Louis.
Ah,
Hello.
that's true.
Hello.
Hey, I also need to thank you as well, because you started me on like a whole new trajectory as well.
Yeah.
And so it got to, I released our episode in August, didn't I? And then,
Yeah.
you know, one of the challenges of this podcast is that you got to do the whole cycle, the whole gamut. It's like pre-production, production, post-production,
And there's 10
promotion.
times more work after like this is the easy bit.
Oh,
We're just
this
talking
is
shit,
the
you
easy
know?
bit. I love this bit.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I love most of it, but this is the easy bit. One of the challenges, especially as a like early up and coming, relatively unknown podcast, I suppose you could say at this stage, is you know, finding guests.
Yeah.
And I had James Liotta on before you in the same chair earlier
Yeah.
today, and James actually approached me. He messaged me, professional entertainer, does TV, radio, commercials, and I was like,
Yeah.
you know, when someone approaches me, it takes one of the challenging jobs, which is finding guests,
Absolutely.
out of the equation, which is brilliant. But, you know, I was like, oh, Troy, man, need to figure out how to get more guests. And you were like, oh, we should go to the Comics Lounge one night. And I was like, yeah, we should. I mean, I hadn't been there for a very long time. I reckon I was in my
Well,
early 20s.
Same. It had been a second home to me for a few years. Oh, and that was one thing I forgot to mention in the intro that I did stand up for as a bit of a hobby for a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure, and things will come up. Anything you forgot to mention, I know will come
But
up.
it was so good sort of being back in there and sort of seeing the differences, but it's also how it was exactly the same.
Well,
you know?
I got to come clean. You know, I was there for the first time in ages, and I absolutely loved the experience. And on that night, I approached my first guest from the Comics Lounge, Joe White,
Yeah.
and did episode 49 with me. Really great guy.
Yeah, love the guy.
And honestly, I remember being there and just laughing my ass off. I was like cackling away.
You were loving it sick.
We were smashing the Coronas as well. I was having the best time. Did we have dinner beforehand as well?
Yeah, we had the tacos.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. We went to.
You took
had
me
the
to that little taco place. That was
Yeah, we
great.
had the shots of tequila.
Tequila.
Oh, it was so good. $6.
Yeah.
And Yeah. And then I looked over at you and you weren't really laughing much at all, Troy. I was like, what the hell's up with Troy? I'm literally banging on the table, like rolling on the floor laughing. I didn't care. I don't mind making a scene. And I'm looking over at you and you're stone cold. And I'm like, Troy, what's up? And you're like, I know all the formulas. I know where all the jokes are going. I was like, I never, ever want to get to the point in life where I'm not enjoying comedy.
But
That's the one reason I won't do stand-up. So I can continue to rock up and laugh because I'm like, it's a surprise.
It's a beautiful thing. But I suppose for me...
But thank you for taking me there. That was, because it's opened up a whole new world. Now I'm a member. I think I bought the membership that night off Dougie Chappell.
You bought that. Yeah.
Hi, Doug.
Good old Dougie. Yeah.
And
Great guy.
Yeah. And so, I'm like, that was a trajectory-changing moment because now I'm in this environment that I go to where I know I'll go and laugh and build up that good energy inside again, after a long day at work or a long week at work.
Well, for me, it was the same thing for me. Like I'd, when I left the cult, I'd lost everything and everyone that I'd known. And I got introduced to the Comics Lounge.
I don't mean to be smiling, but when you call it the cult, I'm just it makes me giggle. Sorry.
The good old Jehovah's Witnesses, or Jehovah's Fitness, as we called it last
Fitness.
time. But going to there and just because people are going there to have fun. Why wouldn't you want to be in that sort of environment and to be surrounded by that? And I found that it was actually really easy to just, strike up a conversation with random strangers because we're all there to have fun. And so I started being able to build up a community. I got to know a lot of the comedians, and then I gave stand-up a go. And I loved working out, sitting in the audience and hearing those names in the suburbs and being able to adapt my material for that. And just having an absolute ball. And we are very fortunate in Australia, in Melbourne, as much as, some of the arts don't get paid as much as they should. And there is comedy every night of the week in Melbourne somewhere. And there's rooms that fire up and then they disappear and then a different one comes up, and that's the great thing that you can go to that environment and you can start to see some regular faces and things. And then once you're known by others, then you're going to start getting the other calls because you get known, your face gets known, and someone says, "Oh, I did a podcast with Louis. It was so much fun."
It is fun.
He asks great questions and he gets really deep. Like he's got a great way of thinking, And then that's
keep talking.
Yeah. No, but I mean, we've had this conversation before, and the same thing, the praise. Like I love your natural style, and you love to ask some very deep questions, and you're very mindful of that sort of stuff. But you are. That's where our initial conversation, the very first one that we had, it was all about neuroscience, and we were just digging that vibe.
I love it. You helped me bring out the inner geek.
Yeah.
I had to admit to myself last year. I heard someone else say it. Someone online maybe was like, "I'm a geek," and then for the first time in my life, I thought to myself, I've never identified as a geek, but I really am. Like I'm such a nerd. Like I'll watch all 3 of the old school Star Wars all in just like one sitting.
Yeah.
I'm like a Lord of the Rings fan.
I'm a massive Star Trek and Star Wars. Star Trek.
I'm not that geeky. I'm joking. Well,
and another like a great one, in a more modern one. There was a series called The Expanse, which was just brilliant, based on some books.
Never heard of it.
But it's a sci-fi one, and it's sort of like what does the future hold when Earth has colonized Mars and the asteroid belts and stuff.
That's actually happening.
Yeah,
Musk is doing that.
but it's the way that they spoke about it was just so fantastic, And
what was it? Captivating. Did they make it sound realistic?
Absolutely.
Like
and
it was possible.
Yeah, but also all of those political struggles that we had on Earth, we're now interplanetary struggles. And
that's where Star Wars starts.
It's not just the struggles between countries, it's between planets and parts of space now.
Holy crap.
And then,
I don't want that.
And then there's alien influences that are impacting that, and there's some, some crazy sort of stuff.
Oh, I got to watch that. What was on?
Amazing. The Expanse, it's called. It changed around. I can't remember if it was on Prime or if it's back to Netflix now or something like that. But yeah.
Hey, one of the things that I'm asking my guests this year to do is bring something, and if it's food, even better, that we can share.
Well,
I did that with Joe White actually.
Yeah.
I brought him a meat pie. I was like, look, a Venezuelan immigrant and an Ethiopian eating a meat pie. But I don't want to get to like the end of the recording. We forget about whatever it is you brought.
All right. So there was a number of things that sort of came into my head about things that I could bring, and I was thinking about something sort of
Did you
physical.
overthink this?
No,
Okay, good.
no, but
Because I
did-
eat anything.
but I thought, well, yeah, there's a lot of different things. You know, I didn't have the time or the lemons to make you a lovely lemon tart. You know,
Ooh.
like I'm not much of a baker. I love cooking up savoury food, and I'm
We
one
can
of
go
those.
down to Brunetti's and
Yeah,
get one
yeah, we
after
can,
this.
yeah. But I can walk up to a pantry or a fridge and go right, and I can make something on the fly. Like, and I love that improvisation of cooking. You know, it's something that I really enjoy doing.
Okay, a bit of a chef.
Yeah, love being a bit of a foodie. But we were talking about habits. So I had a little bit of a theme last year that I presented at UX camp, which was being busy, burnout, and bad habits. And it was something that sort of came
I don't
together.
like any of those topics.
No, but we wear being busy as a badge of honor, but it's actually not good for us. It's not good
Well,
for our brains, and one of the consequences of it certainly can be burnout.
Yeah.
And then when we're in survival mode, we go into habits because we're trying to save energy and conserve energy. So we tend to, if we're trying to develop good habits, well, we're too tired and worn out, so we'll go back to our bad habits.
So it's like a vicious cycle,
It
it
is.
sounds like.
So we need to create some space for ourselves, and it starts with our habits, but it also starts with recognizing that it's not good to constantly be busy. Our brain needs some quiet time and some peace, as we hear the police sirens going through. However, I did bring a few things.
Okay.
But food, importantly, food. Now, this is
Yes,
talking about the bad habits link, all right?
Okay.
So one of the things that,
You brought me a slice of pizza.
Yes. When we're working in the city and you get up early, you got to get on the train early, and you're sort of rushing. And so I'd get this as a bit of a quick breakfast. We often sort of get our coffees and things like that in Melbourne, and we're racing around and a number of different cafes, because I'd be working in different contracts around the city, and I'd find my favourite cafe, and then they'd quickly learn Troy's coming in. We'll get a caramel latte and
Before you even order it.
yeah,
Great
right.
service.
Yeah, absolutely. A caramel latte and a ham and cheese croissant.
Croissant.
So,
Le croissant.
as I throw the figure of 8, and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you
here we
got?
go. Now they're not heated up. I didn't bring a toaster
Cool.
with me. I'm sorry.
I didn't bring my microwave. I normally do. I replaced it with the neon sign today.
Yeah. We should have put it on there earlier.
So what do you got? Have they got ham
So
and
my
cheese on those?
This is a little ham and cheese croissant.
Talking about
Yeah.
creating space in our lives. There's space in my stomach right now for this.
Now it has been next to the heaps normal, so it's cold. So
Nice. Oh, God. Cheers.
cheers.
I haven't had
Now
Oh, I love ham and cheese croissant.
the thing about a ham and cheese croissant was that I'm rushing around. I'm being busy, so I'm taking a shortcut. I'm developing a habit.
Yeah.
But this little baby here,
Can you stop talking now?
just want to
This is
say
going to
the
be too
moment.
close to... No, go on. Go
So-
on. I'm joking.
This little baby here, as much as I love croissants, this has more calories.
I knew it. I knew you were going to ruin this moment for me.
Now, I'm not a calorie counter. I never have been.
Neither
But
am I.
my son has been studying nutrition, just, because he loves it and he's really enjoying it. And my partner, we're both going on a bit of a fitness kick, and she's had a great personal trainer who's been really wonderful in keeping her accountable, and he's been really tight on the calories. So when you then actually think about what you're doing, this baby here can be like, this is probably about 350 calories, I'd say. 'cause
Well,
it's
I'll
pretty
eat
slim.
yours if you don't want
No, I'm going to eat it. But the ones that I'd get from, the really good cafes and stuff, they could be up to 500 calories. Right now, if especially if you're female and you're
Why
on a,
did my brain automatically associate that with, I bet they're tastier. The more the calories, the tastier they are.
Well, because there's more butter, and butter's, let alone the cheese,
Delicious.
all the good things, the stuff that tastes awesome equals calories. But you could have, even a fried chicken breast and some broccoli and some brown rice, and it still wouldn't equal that. It would fill you up more. It would satiate you more. But the simple change of changing this habit to going, okay, take a few minutes. I'm going to make a bowl of oats, and I'm going to make it with water, and I'm just going to add a dash of milk and some sugar-free maple syrup. So I've still got a bit of the taste. But that's 170 calories. And all I've got to do is allow 5 more minutes, get up, not hit the snooze button that extra one time, and I can have that, and it will satiate me more than this. That
Are we
one
adding
habit.
dietitian to your lineage of
No, like
interests?
but it was the one habit that I was going, no. I was making lots of excuses. What's going on there?
Just random yelling, which happens
Happens a lot in Hosea Lane.
at least, yeah,
Well,
at least once a day.
let's savour our possums.
Mm.
So then we get to the other habit loop. Now we're talking about having some Coronas.
We had a few Coronas, and I got to tell you, nothing affects my waistline more than the beers do.
Yeah.
So I don't care. I'll eat 5 of these.
Same
I
thing.
have one beer,
A
and I'm
beer,
cooked.
a lot of beers can be like 350 to 450 calories. That's a meal. You
That's
chug
why
3
I've
of
got
them.
extra holes in my
Chug
belt
3 of
loop.
them. That's the allowance that some people have for their entire dietary. Someone training for a weight competition, that would be their entire, calories for the day.
That's wild. Well, last year I started training a lot, lifting weights a lot, and I'll tell you why. Because I just noticed I was putting on weight easier, as we get older.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that I never ever want to do in my life, which I'm not sure if it'll last forever, but I hope it does, is count calories. I don't want to count calories.
No, I don't want to either.
I'll count the push-ups, but I don't want to count the calories. I'll count the amount of kilos I'm putting on the bar, but I do not want to count the calories.
So
It worked.
I've got the exact same mindset. So what I started to associate it with was, how long do I need to spend at the gym to get rid of this? Now, I've already done a 2K run and an hour at the gym today.
Oh, all right. Okay,
It's
cool.
the upper body workout, getting those
Nice.
guns going.
Yeah, I can see.
I'm not going to rip off the shirt because, my dad
There'll
joke.
be a 16-pack under
Yeah,
there.
the dad joke was that I used to have a 6-pack,
Uh-huh. You
of
told us
iron,
this one in
and
the
now it
last
needs ironing. Well, now I've got a keg. I've just got a keg.
Okay.
But that over the Christmas break, there's times where I've given up alcohol and stuff like that. So because it's understanding the habit loops, it was one of the things I did my assignment on during my neuroscience qualification. But it's really easy to go back to over that Christmas period. I'm going to have a couple of jacks. I'll have a couple of beers.
It's so true.
Oh,
It's hard.
well,
It's
we're-
hard to avoid it.
The stepfather-in-law is bringing out the red wines. We're at a friend's place for New Year's. This guy's got a wine cellar. He does
unavoidable.
winery tours in Adelaide, in South Australia, the wine capital of Australia. He's bringing out these amazing bottles of red that are as smooth as silk, And you take one sip of it and you go, how much time at the gym? Okay, I'm just not going to worry about it, sort of thing. So, but I found over that sort of holiday period that I just got back into, I'll have a couple of drinks. And bang, the kilos were just starting to come back on. So, come back from Adelaide after New Year's and going, okay, right, it's time to get back to the gym, jump in the infrared sauna, even though, it's hot outside. That's the heat hitting me from the outside in.
You've
You
changed.
go into the infrared sauna, it's heating you from the inside out. It's the microwave that's safe for humans.
You know, our first recording, I reckon, was May or something last year, maybe June. You've changed since then, Troy. You're talking about infrared saunas now. You're a new man.
But I can sweat a puddle that is dripping off me. It's like it's full on.
The first time I did vinyasa yoga in a room that had no heating, just natural 32-degree sunlight coming through, I looked down at the mat and I was embarrassed because it wasn't mine. It was one of the studios. I was like, I had no idea that yoga could make you sweat this much. Vinyasa yoga, probably one of the best exercises you could do, apart from walking.
Yeah. And for mobility and stuff like that, I've got a couple of mates that are yoga masters. And they're amazing. I was a gymnast when I was a kid, but I just got no flexibility.
You've got
left
so
these
many
days.
flexes up your sleeve, don't you?
Yeah, just drop that one in there.
Do you mind if I steal another one of those
Let's
heaps
go for it.
normals?
I was just about to suggest
You
it.
were? Yeah, I need one of those.
So
I'm thinking about, I don't really need to pee
I
yet.
haven't got my
But by the
glasses
time
on.
I press stop on this recording,
Yeah,
and by the way, we're going to have to stop at a certain point, about an hour and 35 in, because I have an SD card in there that's going to run out. So,
that's all right. But yeah, Heaps Normal were one of the they were one of the first peeps to come out with a.
are we plugging Heaps Normal? Is that what we're doing?
No, sorry, if you get some sponsorship, hit them up. But they were one of the first ones that sort of it became a bit of a standard within pubs. Now it's really easy to get zero alcohol beers.
0.5 0.5.
Yeah, 0.5 this one, so it's technically
It's
not.
hard to make beer without alcohol in it. I think
There are
that's
some really good ones now though, and this is one that actually still has quite a lot of flavour and stuff like that. But
it does. It's very flavorful.
but I
Thank you.
don't tend to get this. I get a couple of the other ones.
Thank you.
But these are nice.
We're getting a lot of photos taken of us, by the way.
That's good.
You're going to be on a lot of Instagram accounts.
And they're going, what's that blue thing? Why are they drinking beers?
Yeah, what is the blue thing? Why don't you talk to us
Right.
about that? Because I know that we'll just keep going and you won't get
Well,
a chance to talk
before
about
I do,
it.
this is just sort of a near and dear story to me. So you said bring something of importance
Yeah.
to me.
Okay, you haven't
Now-
finished telling that story. Okay, apologies.
That's all right. We had
Oh.
our ham and cheese croissant. Now, I just recently.
Hang on. No, you got to hold that up a bit. Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
What is that?
So
It looks
this
like a large pair of shorts.
Yeah, this pair of shorts. I've had to retire recently. These have seen me through the birth of 2 children, numerous overseas trips, a divorce, a few
What
relationships.
brand are those? They're,
Rip Curl.
you're kidding.
Now they're a really, lightweight, quick dry material, but they're a cargo short. It's been impossible to replace these. This is why I've had to keep holding on to them so long. And it was in a recent trip that the back end there on the old butt,
Yeah,
that's become
it's-
see-through.
So, so you didn't want to replace these?
Because I loved them, but it just got totally worn out. Fortunately, there was some Boxing Day sales over in Adelaide.
Yeah,
that
the
was
new
still
ones
holding.
look
Yeah.
similar.
Now, the only damage that was done to these is this little rip right here, and that was doing wrap jumping. There was one time that I wore these. Normally, I wore some like hard yakka sort of work shorts. or
Okay, yeah.
Some
Don't ever wear your favourite shorts to outdoor activities, people.
No, because I was travelling at some pretty fast speeds, and that rope will burn through anything. But those shorts have been with me through camping trips, through 4 or 5 countries. They've just they've been there. They've stood the test of time with me. They if they need a passport all of their own, they've got some stories to tell of the way that they've looked after me and supported me, and my little habit loops of my phone would be on this side, my keys up in the top right pocket, my wallet in the left pocket. Always knew where everything was, and it was why I loved wearing them. But also when I went camping, I could just take everything out of the pockets and just jump into the river with my dog, or
In
jump
those
into the
shorts.
ocean with my kids
You could
and stuff.
basically never take those shorts off. That's what
Exactly. During
I don't
summer,
hear.
that was it.
So why are they so near? I mean, I'm picking up the point that they're near and dear to you because they've been through so much with you together. But like, there's something more there. I don't know if I'm.
I don't know that. Yeah, but there's a functional thing, but it's the material. It's the lightweight material because they were quick dry that made them really versatile. But you can get quick dry shorts.
But is that why they're special too? Because they were so
quick
versatile.
dry and cargo?
Right.
It's that simple combination. There's just not enough out there on the market, that can do that.
Yeah. Well, this is your This is your
Yeah.
time.
So Rip Curl.
I bet you there's
Get-
another 500 Troys out there thinking the same thing about the same pair of shorts.
Yeah.
Going, they don't make them like they used to.
No, Rip Curl, your boardwalk shorts, they're a great thing. But keep the double pockets. Your new ones only got a single pocket. Come on.
Why are they doing single
Stop messing with an amazing formula.
That's imbalance. And I have OCD about balance.
Yes.
Yeah, so I need to balance things out. Like, I don't want to put too much stuff in one pocket. I have to just sort of spread it out.
Yeah.
Why? Like,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
I saw a pair of cargo shorts with one side that had a pocket, I would be like, no way. Balance. No balance there.
When we were, I was up with my partner in Adelaide, and we were going in one of the main sort of shopping hubs. It's sort of like a DFO sort of centre. All of the top brands, I went into dozens of stores trying to find anything that would work. And I ended up getting these ones. These were actually, ironically, from
They
Just
look
Jeans.
similar, but they're not.
Yeah, like I went to Kathmandu and Anaconda and stuff, but they're not the quick dry material. They're still, but it's the functional, good quality cargo shorts,
Yeah,
but it's
wow.
not the quick dry material. So I won't take these camping
Mm.
because they also won't wash out as easily as those. Those things, there was all sorts of stains that got on them, charcoal and blood and, guts. And
So these shorts, they were important. I mean, they were a special item.
They
That's what
jump-
I asked you to bring. Bring a special item, and you brought shorts.
and they jumped off buildings.
I got to say,
Yeah. You wouldn't have thought that shorts could be an
That's
important
true.
item.
I thought maybe you'd bring a samurai sword or something.
Well, I was nearly going to bring my my ninja umbrella.
Oh, that
so
one.
I've got the samurai sword that I get some really weird looks when I'm walking through the streets of the city, but I pull it
know a
out
guy
and it's
that's
the most
yeah.
amazing Japanese umbrella.
This guy I used to work with had one of those, but he also looked scary as hell because he used to come into work with a basically a leather trench coat on with that umbrella.
Yeah, that
You're
would
like,
sell
yeah,
it.
he's scary. Yeah, you were talking about Christmas and, like the difficulty, the insane difficulty of dodging the amount of food and alcohol that gets sort of basically just
Thrown at you.
granted at, like,
Yeah.
with the expectation that you'll consume it.
Yeah, and you can make those choices, and you can say to yourself, well, I'm going to go small portion size. I don't want to eat till I'm like, blah, I'm just going to eat till I'm happy and comfortable. I won't have all of the drinks. I might just have one, sort of thing. And those, you can do that for a little bit, but it's breaking some of those healthy habit loops because it is a time out of standard habits because you're not doing work, you're not doing all these sort of day-to-day things. You start to forget which day it is and stuff like that.
Yep.
So everything out of normal, well, then it's easier to break other loops, other habit loops, because it's like, well, everything's different. So
That's true.
So
yeah, you start breaking all. You start with one habit, you break them all.
yeah, our brain goes, well, we'll just relax everything.
That's what I stopped making my bed in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I just couldn't be bothered anymore.
Well, you're having
That's
some
bad.
sleep-ins or
It's bad because I've been good with that for like 2 years, bang, every day. But lately I've just been, I had about 5 weeks off work.
Yeah.
So, things really changed. I was going to bed at 2 a.m. It's hard to get to bed before.
I'm the same because I'm naturally a night owl and I naturally have trouble with sleep. So on holiday periods when I'm not working or, there's not a big drive to sort of, try and be looking for the next contract or developing the next sort of business sort of idea, then it's really easy to just go, no, well, I'm just going to binge watch Squid Game or,
Yeah, that's one thing I'm
Shogun
grateful. This podcast, you cannot have a project like this and like be a one-man
spare
band.
time.
And
Yeah. You need to get some of that AI stuff working for you in the edits and take out all the ums. And
it's not good enough yet.
no.
There is the audio versions of that, but the AI for video, it's not good enough yet. It can get you almost there with the quality that I want and with the kind of style that I want, but it's not. Like what I want is an AI that's just trained on me and just knows what I like and how I edit. I don't know if it sort of is there just yet. It'll be there like
I'm sure somewhere.
in like 3 weeks. It'll be there. Yeah. That's how quickly that space is moving. Talk to us about the big blue ring. Why did your mind go there? Why did you?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, look, that look on your face. You didn't have
You
to
said
say
don't wear
anything.
sunnies because I want to see the glint in your eye.
No,
That's just bing. Make sure in the post edit, you please give me a little ping.
I'm gonna have to figure that out. Yeah.
So this little baby here is a figure of 8, but it's a very particular figure of 8.
What is this figure of 8 used for?
So this is
Where are you taking us?
essentially a braking and travelling device when it comes to abseiling, whether you're doing forward or backward abseiling, whether you're doing rock climbing or things like this. You would see this attached to a carabiner, and the rope would come around and loop around the figure of 8.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I
So-
think I've seen those.
So
before.
it creates friction on the rope, and if you pull on one end, you only actually have to apply a small amount of pressure, and it will create so much friction that you'll stop.
Nice.
Now there's an inertia to that, so that when we used to do wrap jumping, and we'd walk off the edge of the building.
Yeah.
And we'd have all of our punters standing there. We'd get them to line up, and we'd get one of our people to do a demonstration. Now, they wouldn't have a belay or a brake person at the bottom of that stage because they were going to be the belay or the brake person.
Oh, crap.
So they're literally walking off the edge of a building with
just themselves.
Just themselves.
To rely on.
Now,
That's scary.
And the reason why we sort of demonstrated that was, one, to give confidence to people about the safety of the system. Because I would walk off the edge when I was doing the role of the brake person that day, and I'd walk off the edge and I'd take my left hand off the rope, because we'd say, right by your side, left as a guide. So, little things like that to make it easy for brains when they're in this perilous survival state. We're going to jump off a building and die. No, you're not. There's this thing called gravity. Yes, well, this will save you. And we'd show how important this was.
That's a life-saving device.
Yeah. So we'd have
I mean,
the
you don't
carabiner
have to
fixed in
jump
here.
off a building if you don't want to.
We'd loop the rope around it, and then we'd demonstrate to them, how easy it was to stop. So I'd climb over the edge, I'd walk down the side of the building a couple of steps, and then I'd turn around and just with 2 fingers on the rope, I'd say, so this is how easy it is to keep yourself stopped.
Interesting.
Let alone when you grab it with both hands, because obviously as you get speed, it takes more effort to be able to slow it down.
Sure.
So when I first did rap jumping, it was, with a group of friends. And it all started one night. We were at the South Bank apartment at my mate Shaz's place. And I was out in the balcony with my mate Mike. And Mike said to me, we're looking
You
up
throw
at...
so many names at us, by the way. Cal, Shazza, Mike.
Yeah.
You're such an
all
Aussie.
the Aussified.
You're
ways, yeah.
such an Aussie.
So we're and Mike was Irish, by the way. So we're looking up at Eureka Tower, and he said to me, "Wouldn't it be grand if you could run down the side of that building?
Oh, it would.
I think I'd like to do that someday." And I went, "That'd be awesome, Mike. Yeah, let's do
Oh,
it."
bloody
sort of
long
thing.
rope.
So, well, yeah, I'm not sure if there's enough Blue Water Super Plus 2 rope. Shout out to Blue Water for their amazing ropes.
Here's another sponsor
Yeah,
I
there's
need.
another
I'm
sponsor.
gonna have to start writing these down. Hips normal, blue water.
Like I watch window cleaners, come over the edge of buildings, and they're going, they're not using blue water. What are they thinking? Sort of thing. But yeah, we get that rope, and so Mike ended up doing a bit of research, and
Yep.
he found the wonderful guy called Peter McHale, so former SAS soldier. And we'd walk onto that rooftop, and there'd be that gravelly voice of this amazing, former SAS soldier Macca, and he'd go, "G'day, fearless ones, are we ready to go?" Sort of thing. And it was
Fearless
an
ones.
amazing day, and we had a great group, and quite a few had sort of done rock climbing and stuff, so they're pretty good. And I had an amazing day, and one of the photos, Mike was also a really great photographer, and he had a website saying the camera doesn't lie, and he had these great photos of me just launching Superman style off, and I really wanted to understand the technique, because I was sort of seeing these minute differences in. I'd try to do something and it just wouldn't work out, and I couldn't work out why it wasn't working, and I wanted to know the finesse, sort of thing. And so I'm asking the instructors these questions and things like that. And anyway, Macca a few weeks later I added rap jumping on Facebook, and he put a call out for instructors. So I went along and signed up to do the instructors course. And so there was a group of about 10 of us, I think we started out, and we're doing this instructors course, and we're like maybe the second week in, and we had to do a number of different things. So we had to learn a lot of different knots and stuff like that. But it was also about learning the trust between people. So, it's hard enough walking over the edge of a building, and learning how to do this, with the rope and all this sort of stuff. But this particular lesson was about learning about being the brake person. So, and what that supplied to the system. So we walk over the edge, and the instruction to us while we're on the edge of the building is to take your hands off the rope. Now, that's unnatural. You are standing on the side of a building, face down, 30 metres up in the air, looking at cobblestone concrete below you, sort of thing, and you're instructed to take your hands off the rope.
That doesn't make any sense.
So that's scary, because the brake person needs to be able to control your descent.
Right.
So the brake person is just gently pulling on the rope, allowing you to come down.
What do you do with your hands?
Well, you've just got to sort of fly, be free, sort of thing.
Put them out?
Yeah. So he's sort of standing there next to the brake person, teaching the brake person. So that's scary as hell. Like that thing of that I'm now giving my life to someone else, And that was also part of the camaraderie from a team perspective, to be able to give our trust to the other people that we were working with and learning with. But you know what was scarier than taking your hands off the rope when you're on the side of the building?
No idea.
Was when you were the brake person and someone else took their hands off the rope.
Oh, really?
Because now you're responsible for their
I
life.
suppose.
And that was the lesson. Because the soberness, the gravity, quite literally, pun intended, of having to learn that system, and someone's coming down the rope, and to be able to gently bring them down and not let them fall, and learn that system. It was a really...
Did you use mannequins or anything at first?
No.
No. Okay, maybe
No.
a tip for the future instructor.
So this is old school instructing. It's this was sort of, we're talking sort of 16 years ago, so it's not exactly, probably wouldn't be signed off by a WorkSafe OH&S thing these days. But the lesson of it, there's other things that you could do from a top rope system, but he was there as the safety person to the brake person, and it was very easy for him to be able to, if they didn't do it right, to be able to get things organised. But it was a really amazing thing. Now, here I am a couple of weeks in, and he'd given us these figure of eights and, told us all about them. We're learning all about the breaking and things like this. And then we had to go off and do a different exercise and do a bit of a tidy up or something like that, I think we needed to do. And I had my kids there, and they were just sort of waiting to the side on the rooftop, and they were a bit of a distance away. And I said, "Oh, mate, can you just hold this for me?" And I threw the figure of eight across the concrete. So it bounces across and skids across the concrete, because I'm thinking, well, it's metal. That's, it's aluminium. That'd be fine. Just throw it across. I quickly learnt that was a big no-no from Macca. "Oi, come here. Drop down and give me 20. And I'm like, "What? What did I do?" He says, "This figure of eight, this is what your entire life depends on.
Oh, yeah.
And you just threw it across the concrete." And I go, "Yeah, but it's metal." He's gone, "But it could have created a microfracture in that." Now, for me to have that scanned, it costs just as much for me to replace it. So now I can't trust this thing because it could be damaged. It might not be. It might be perfectly healthy. It might be perfectly safe. But I have to take it out of rotation now because you wanted to save 5 effing seconds from giving it, not having it in your hand.
Macca's right.
It was.
I'm only saying that because I'm afraid of Macca, by the way. I've
Well,
never met Macca. I have no reason to fear
no,
him.
Macca-
But in case, Macca, you're listening.
No, he is either
I
up
fear
or
you.
down. No, he unfortunately passed away from mesothelioma.
Oh,
So
no.
one of
Sorry
the
to hear
toughest
that.
blokes I know who
I'm still
used-
afraid of him.
Yeah, no, so you should be. But he used to be first through the door, throw a grenade into a building, and then walk in.
You're kidding.
Gun.
This guy
gun-
sounds tough.
Well, SAS,
It kind of
but
makes sense that he wouldn't stay around long, though.
Well-
No offense.
Well,
Given his
unfortunately,
vocational...
like he never got taken out by a bullet. His squad 3 RA at that time, there wasn't much operational sort of stuff going on, which sent a few of them as sort of they wanted to see the pink mists, so they sort of went looking for some of that. But Macca breathed in asbestos from when he was throwing grenades into buildings, and a lot of 3 RA actually ended up dying from the same thing, from mesothelioma. But he was a hardened soldier. He wasn't a tall bloke. He was probably only about 5'7", 5'8". But he was a presence. His presence in any room, I remember so many stories that were told, but I witnessed it numerous times. We'd have some Bucks crews turn up and they wanted to go rap jumping. That was the start of their day, sort of thing. And they'd already been a little bit on the piss. Now, he's like, "I'm sorry, you're not in full control of your faculties. I can't allow you to go over the edge, And so these were big blokes, like there was a footy club or something like that. They were big blokes, and they were starting to front up to him, because they're taller, they can power over you. And I remember him just sort of going, "Who do you think you are, you little pissant? What have you done with your life? You don't know anything. You haven't seen anything. I'm about to be in control of your lives."
Everyone needs a little Macca in the morning.
I
think.
Yeah.
Macca alarm clock.
Yeah, get the fuck out of bed, you lazy little pissant.
Yeah.
What are you saying? You can't do that. Take the world, grab it by your hands, and just get it done.
The Troy King alarm clock. Yeah, right. Macca.
Well done. That is.
Wow.
I love that gravelly voice of when people had done their first jump and then they've come back up the lift and the stairs, and they'd come onto the rooftop and he'd just, "Well done, fearless ones. Look at you. You can do anything." So he
Nice.
was inspirational as well.
That's
and
special.
He was a
That's a special gift
yeah.
to be that kind of leader.
And the wonderful,
Inspirational leader.
and he took people in, he was always looking out
Yeah.
for his brothers and stuff, and he just took random strangers in. The wonderful thing at his wake where, we just had an open mic and, got up and spoke our words about Macca and the difference that he made in our lives. Some bloke gets up and he tells a really similar story to what I'd told, and I'd never met this guy before.
Yeah, right.
But suddenly we become brothers,
From having known
Macca.
Macca.
And, we were having a few beers at the Bowls Club, because one of the other things that you would absolutely expect of a hardened SAS soldier is that he was a bloody good lawn bowler. It was the focus and the concentration.
That's not the first thing I would have thought.
No, but the focus and the concentration was, and being have a goal, have a mission, and stay on target,
Mhm.
sort of thing. But he was a champion lawn bowler, and so we had our wake there. And so we had a few beers and we're telling a few stories, and this guy had... was walking past. Now, we didn't hadn't known each other. We'd never met each other before. And as he's walking past, we get eye contact, and I just put my arm out, and we had the warmest embrace, the warmest hug. Just two strangers that knew this amazing man, and we just hugged, and it was a beautiful thing, and it was understood, and it was like, wow, we've experienced something that, well, it turns out a lot of people had, but we had this sort of bond in that. And I think that's a wonderful legacy to leave. And it was really interesting that when he was fading and he was passing, and I remember taking that call, and I changed a few things, and I flew up to Cairns. His amazing sister was looking after him, and his brother-in-law, they had an amazing place there up in Mission Beach in far north Queensland, and went up there, and he was a bit too sick to sort of see me initially, so it took a little while. I had to be a little bit patient, but the family, treated me as their own. And then I go in to get to see Macca, and he struggles, gets up out of bed. He can barely breathe at this point, and he gives me a hug. And we get him settled, and we have a bit of a chat, and then he's starting to get a bit tired, so we come out, and his amazing sister, starts getting some food ready for us. There was a couple of us there visiting him, and she says, "Who the hell are you?" I'm like, what? And she says, "Oh, well, I'm Macca's friend wrapped up." And she said, "I know all of that, but who the hell are you that he treats you and speaks to you so lovingly, and he gave you a hug? I've been wiping his ass and giving him his meals for the last few weeks, and all he does is just, talk shit and tell me off and, and all this sort of stuff because he's tired, he's frustrated." I'm going, well, that's because he can be vulnerable with you, So, but also, she says, I've never known him to hug anyone. He doesn't show any emotion with anyone, and yet with you he does. And I said, well, I set that expectation with him. I said to him, this is what I need from you. This is how I expect, to be treated. And he respected that. And I think that was one of the things in that early sort of part of the leadership, other than being told to drop down and give 20 because I'd stuffed up. There was another test that he put him through. Everything with Macca was a test, just like you would expect from an SAS soldier, as the thinking man soldier. But we were lined up, and we'd been doing quite a number of weeks of things. We'd done the brake person stuff. We'd done all of the safety. We'd had to learn to climb up a building using ropes and prussics and stuff and climbing equipment. We'd learned to do rescues and all these sort of things. Amazing stuff. And then it came time to be the marshal, which is the person that hooks you up, does all the safety checks, and then gets you over the edge. So this was a big deal, because there was a very particular process about, and you are literally hooking someone up, and you've got to do it right. Otherwise, they could die. And the safety record, you can't buy it back. Once you've done one thing wrong, you can never get that safety record of, clean slate that he'd always had. And so we're very mindful of that. So there's a lot of pressure, and we're all lined up, and Macca starts that sort of drill sergeant, it's like, right, we're going to do the marshal, and he's drilling it into us, and you've got to do this, and you've got to do that, and you've got to be mindful of this, and you've got to take command of the scene sort of thing. And he's got that presence. And what happens naturally when there's a really commanding, almost angry presence, when you've got a lineup, people all look down, because we can tell that he's getting ready to ask someone to volunteer to be marshal. And
Mini Macca.
And everyone's going, I don't want it to be me. Like, listen to him. He's going hard. He's in a mood today, sort of thing. And I just kept my eyes up, and I kept looking at him. And he's going to this person next to me, this person next to me, and then this person next to me. And then he comes to me. And he's just doing a couple of sentences with each of them, because they're all looking down. They're not reading him. I'm watching him the entire time, and he comes to me, and he's looking me right in the eyes. Now, there's a body language thing. When we're friendly with someone, we'll sort of look around here. If we're a bit of an acquaintance, if we really care about them, we'll look at them here. But if we want to dictate terms to them, we'll look at them here.
That's weird.
So there's a difference. I mean, you won't be able to sort of see it on camera, but when I'm looking at you, I'm sort of looking in this area here, because we're mates. And
that's my good part, by the way. You're looking at my good
But
bits.
if I'm looking up you like this and go, what the hell are you doing?
That's no good. I don't
mate?
like that. I feel threatened.
Yeah.
So
it's like it's a few millimeters, sort of difference. But so he's looking at me here, so I'm looking at him there, and I am not moving my eyes. I am not blinking, and he stays on me. He pauses and he keeps going, and he does another couple of sentences, and then he looks up and down the line, and he's like ramped it up, and he's physically got wider. He's really trying to intimidate me. And he's looked up and down the line, and everyone's got their heads down, and he looks at me and he just goes, and then moves on to the next person.
Nice one.
It was the test.
You earned
He
back his
wanted
respect.
he wanted to see someone that had leadership skills in the face of adversity of being attacked, you know, like in a bit of a test, like not attacked, but in a dressing down of a drill sergeant sort of way that you might see in a typical sort of movie. He was going hard, showing his expectations.
I feel like modern corporates would have reported Macca to HR.
Yeah, just maybe.
I'm just saying.
Maybe.
I'm just
hashtag
saying.
just saying.
Macca
But
would
it
have
was,
been in trouble in the soft world.
but what it taught me, I got to see something that no one else there got to see.
Which was
That
Macca looking at
he
you,
was
winking.
He was
Winked
just
at you.
playing, baby.
Yeah.
He's just
You got
testing the room,
Yeah.
and I passed the
You
test.
broke through the filter.
and he gave me this little wry smile, and then straight away went vicious, you know, sort of thing, you know, sort of. And so I got this wonderful gift from him that was just irreplaceable. So now, when he says, "So, who would like to volunteer?" and I said, "Well, I'm happy to do it, but I'd really, you know, like you to keep an eye on me and guide me and teach me if I'm going to miss something."
Yeah.
And he's gone, "Everyone, that's what I want to see. I want to see someone willing to take charge, willing to have a go, but also have the humility to know that they don't know it yet. They want to learn. And that's the balance that I need you guys to have
That's
constantly."
a beautiful thing.
So it was a wonderful lesson. You know, great lesson.
Yeah, I feel tougher sitting here drinking an non-alcoholic
Non-alcoholic
beer, listening to stories of Macca. Like, the stories of Macca make me feel inspired.
Oh, he was a very inspiring bloke. And you know, he's been gone a lot of years now, but there's...
But his legacy, just like your mum.
Again,
just like your mum.
That's the legacy. You know?
I think you've put yourself in your life where you've been surrounded, you know, whether it was, you know, just naturally by your mother. You don't get to choose your parents, I guess, but you've put yourself in situations where you've been inspired by actual, like, real, you know, genuine, authentic, honest people.
Yeah, absolutely. And
And
again,
so-
I think that's such an important point for anyone listening is be wise about the people you spend time with.
That's a great point. I like that one. That one comes up from time to time, but not enough.
Because these are the ones that, you know, you will share oxytocin with, you know, or they will, you know, gaslight you and treat you like shit and give you stress. So, you know, that whole thing of, you know, I'm going to a therapist. Is it because I'm depressed or I'm just hanging out with a bunch of pricks, you know? So
That's a
if,
good question.
if you surround
I should
yourself...
ask that more.
So if you surround yourself with good people, that again, you always feel inspired at the end of the day, you know, which is why I think, you know, we get along so well, is that we both have that energy where we both leave going, that was a really good
fun.
time.
Yeah, that was good.
Man, we talk some stuff. You
Yeah.
know, yeah.
We it's hard to get good conversation. I think that's the thing about the podcast, is having a good, deep, honest, open conversation with someone is one of my hobbies.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
And opening up that vulnerability in people to talk about some of that stuff, you know, like,
It's a good format for that.
yeah.
This format. I think podcasting has become really too heavily skewed towards the life optimization or teach me something, and not enough about just being honest and learning through the osmosis of listening to others open up.
Yeah. There's still something to learn there, but it comes with that
It's
story.
osmosis,
Yeah,
though.
yeah, yeah.
It's not like, hey, listen, here's a lesson plan, like a lot of podcasts are
I've
like.
got 8 things for you to, you know, to be a better person.
Yeah, no. This is just about listening how people open up and how they find that authenticity within themselves and how they can talk about the times where they messed up. You know, there's not many people that can do that. You know, one of the things that where I build trust with someone really quickly, because you were talking about, you know, building trust, is one of the ways in which I build trust with people really quickly is if they naturally, without being prompted, open up about a failure or a time where they've messed up or something that they don't know or they're not an expert in, okay? The longer it takes people to do that, or if they never do that at all, which is common in certain worlds and in certain environments, the lower my trust scale will get on them.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to invite you. I want you to open up and tell me about a time where you've messed up. And I think that's the thing about why I got along with you so well, apart from like the energy, the enthusiasm, the charisma,
Neuroscience and
the
comedy, and
the common threads that we share, the common joys, is that you can tell when you talk that there's humility there, and that's the world's entering into a new phase, a new, I guess, consciousness. I can feel it,
Oh,
like
yeah.
you can
The
kind of
stuff
feel it.
that's going on overseas. It's like, what the
But
hell?
humility is the key ingredient.
Yeah.
If you don't develop it, you're going to be left behind,
And that
and it's going to
vulnerability
be
as well.
hard.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, vulnerability is inherent in humility,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I like that.
But humility itself is the key ingredient into proving your worth as a leader. Okay, and I was talking to someone about this the other day. It was Sween, actually, who I had on this podcast before. He was talking to me. We were talking about this very topic of humility, and he was going, "Yeah, you're right, Louis. I was following this guy who was really like a mentor, inspirational, from a distance for so many years, and it recently came out that he did something that wasn't great, and it came out as dirt on him, and it was true. He didn't come clean and admit it himself." And I was like, yes, we're too. And even my mum, she does things online now as well. And I was saying to her, people don't expect you to be perfect anymore. That's an old paradigm.
Yeah.
That paradigm is shifting. It's gone. It's changing.
That's that Instagram world of every photo has to be prim and
But
proper
not
and
even.
awesome.
But not even anymore. It was at the beginning, but even that world's changing. And so I think what the format of podcasting has created, and something really interesting that even Joe Rogan and Elon Musk talked about when they were talking about Kamala Harris going on his podcast, was like, you can script things for 45 minutes, if they only want to do 45 minutes with you, right? But your thing's 3 hours long.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can hide about yourself in 3 hours. You can maybe hide for the first 45, maybe even an hour. It's in that second and third hour that you reveal who you truly are. And I think that's the beauty of this kind of format, is that...
Well, you and I could easily do 3 hours.
I know we could. Do you want me to throw the other SD card in? I can do
that's
that.
all right, mate,
We'll
that's
split
all
it over 2 SD cards. I'll
that's
just
all
clap
right.
it again.
But I loved your
It'll
point
be dark.
about
It'll be dark.
the people that you choose to trust. So the last couple of years when I was heading up the change practice for Meta PM, I'd have to interview a huge number of candidates. And it's one of the things that I struggle with now. If I'm interviewing for a particular contract, I can see where people's predetermined biases are getting in the way of their thoughts and their opinions about different things.
Yeah.
Whereas I had a very specific choice that I'd make every single candidate, and I was very fortunate in that the talent team, the people that they were giving me, they were awesome at their job, so they would hand me good quality people, 98% of the time. A couple would sort of slip through the cracks,
Yep.
And one in particular, he just had no humility whatsoever, and he actually had no idea what he was talking about. And so, with him, I'm like waiting for him to use just some basic key phrases and language of change management. And he's not, he's not using those things. He's just going, yeah, no, I can do that, mate. Yeah, no, it's really easy. And I go, so, well, how are you, how are you going to tell me about a time when you've done your stakeholder analysis and your impact analysis? And he's gone, oh, well, as when you, and he just started rattling off the words stakeholder analysis, impact analysis, and he just used them about 10 times in the next couple of minutes. But he'd never used that phrase beforehand. And then so I'm waiting, and then I said, and tell us about the times you've done a training needs analysis, sort of thing. And he, same thing. Used that phrase 10 times in the next couple of minutes, but talking about stuff that wasn't really anything to do with it. So he clearly didn't have any understanding.
Right.
So it's like, okay, thanks very much, mate. But I had...
But I mean, even you, in that situation, you could... But that's what you were looking for. You were looking for that sign of even honesty.
That was that.
Look,
yeah.
I don't know.
But he was talking like he knew everything.
Do you think if he said it, look, I don't know much about that you would have trusted him more?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was
like he may not have gotten the job.
Trying to cover it up.
Yeah.
Now with good quality change managers, I had 3 questions that I needed to ask, and that could take an entire interview. And I could tell everything about that person, whether I wanted to work with them or not. So the three questions are, well, tell me how you got into change management. Because there's generally a story there. Because a lot of change managers, they didn't necessarily choose it as a career. It was something that they started doing a little bit on the side, or someone said, hey, you should be a change manager. And then they sort of naturally flowed into it. And then they started to do some actual sort of courses and things and started to learn some stuff later. So there's usually a bit of a journey and a bit of a story to be told around that. So that's good. Now, the next question is, tell me about the unicorn when everything went perfect in a project or a transformation, and what did you do from a change management perspective, and what were the results? So you're asking for a circumstance, action, result. Like the STAR statement, but I just call it a CAR statement. So you want to see what happened. So they'd tell you about it. Now the third question was, now tell me about when everything went wrong and there was bad stakeholders, or the project didn't go right and all the wheels fell off and it didn't go live, or something. You had to walk away from it. Tell me about that. That's when you would really learn.
Yeah.
Now the really good quality change managers, when you ask them about the best story, they told you about the worst story and how they'd recovered it.
Are you listening? Are you change managers out there? Yeah, you paying attention? He's dropping clues.
Because they would tell you how everything was going good, and then what they did to either turn it around, or even better, what I want to hear. And I learned this from a really experienced director many years ago during an interview process. She actually had me sweating, but she wanted to see that as a consultant, I'd be willing to walk away if the client was that bad to deal with.
Yeah.
And we did this role play thing, and she was the client from hell. And it wasn't until I just said, listen, and I'm in an interview, like this is a third or fourth round interview for a really great job with Capgemini. And she was amazing. Like, she could take an Academy Award home. She was an amazing actor. She was bringing that tenacity. Oh man, I was, I can generally control the fear, but I was sweating bullets. I could feel that bead of sweat going down the back because this was real, And I just said, I'm firing off all the questions. I need this, and she's blocking me at every single thing. Just everything was a block. And I just sort of sat there for a second, and I in the space between reaction, there is power. Stimulus and response. In the space between stimulus and response, there is power. And I stopped and I breathed, and I said to her, I'm actually really sorry. I don't think as a change manager, I'm actually going to be able to do anything to help you here, because all of the things that we've just discussed. So if I'm to be successful, I need X, Y, and Z, and you're telling me that I'm not able to get that, to be able to deliver this. And she suddenly changed and played the nice client, because I had drawn a line in the sand and
boundary.
So I suddenly realized that's what she wanted to see, my integrity as a consultant, that I would be willing to walk away.
But be honest.
Yeah.
That you're willing to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Integrity, honesty.
I can't do anything with this, But in an interview, like, that was hardcore.
Yeah, they want to see if you'll be honest, and that's what they're doing. They're testing your integrity, but they need it to see it through honesty. And
Holy crap!
And that honesty takes humility. It says, I'm not an expert. I can't help you as much as what you need. You need to go and see a psychiatrist. I'm a little disappointed in that story, though, because I wanted you to tell me that you summoned your inner macker. That's kind of what I wanted to hear.
You told her, pissant.
You told her to drop down and give you 20. You know what I mean? Yeah.
No, she had very, very Macker-esque power.
You've been surrounded by so many very strong personalities. You know what I think is I think when, and if you believe in God, or, for whoever, or our creator of whichever sort, like, I think when they were molding and sculpting the Troy, they were like, we're going to build this guy to be so resilient that he can handle some of the most challenging personalities that we've thrown down there.
Oh, boy. And
What do you
have
think?
they thrown some challenging personalities at
Sure.
me? Holy crap.
I'm looking forward to not dealing with too many of those at some point.
But it's an interesting thing, isn't it? That's that resilience and having to deal with that, and I've spoken about some amazing people. I've spoken about the grief around losing those amazing people, but also how I honour them and their memories.
Yep.
Are you losing some
We're
battery?
going to lose the red light soon. It's
Turn
gonna
off
get
the
dark.
red light.
But yeah, I mean, we're at about the hour and a half mark. Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe we're going to have to save some for the next chat.
absolutely. So let's wrap it up on some of that. I think when we can sort of pull it all together here.
Thank you for the heaps normals and the croissants, by the way.
Cheers.
Cheers.
0 alcohol,
Cheers, everyone.
400 calories in that croissant.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. What do you think?
So
Closing statements.
surround yourself with amazing people. You said that I've been surrounded by some really wonderful, powerful, strong personalities, intelligent personalities, and I'm really careful with the people that I choose in my life. And I think I was talking about that healthy relationship before. I think that's one of the things that I really love about my partner. She's strong. She's really capable. Intelligent. Got those quirks that we all have, but it's that strength that we know that we can draw on each other's strengths. She recognizes mine, I recognize
That's a
her.
team.
Yeah, and it really is a team where we rely on one another and pull each other up when we're going through those hard times. But you have these people and you might lose them, and grief sucks. Grief is the worst, but the wonderful thing is not to grieve the loss of that person, but to celebrate the fact that they were in your life and that they gave you so much, and that I can live every day living out my mum's superpower of empathy. I can live every day of facing my fears that Mac had taught me to jump face first off the top of buildings, like what an amazing skill. But also, he wasn't a perfect man. He made lots of mistakes, and he did all of those things, but he recognized the power of humility and vulnerability, as well as the power of being a strong leader, and I love to tell those stories and keep that legacy alive. Everyone that worked with Macca, we have that thing that we come together as brothers, not born in blood, but born in rope, and we get together and we just have so much in common because we have held each other's lives in our hands. And so I think if you want to try new things and experience new things, write yourself a bit of a bucket list. There's a lovely guy, Travis Bell, who talks about that. He used to bring people along to rap jumping, and it was his way of getting a bit of shock and awe. Well, if you can't jump off a building, what do you, how do you expect you're going to be able to travel and do all of these things if you can't face this fear? So I think, you spoke a bit about, the fact that I like reinventing myself.
Yeah, flexing that muscle.
I've always been a bit of an adventurous soul, and even as a young kid, I loved testing the boundaries. I was always going hard and stuff, But I've jumped out of planes, I've jumped off buildings, I've been on, air balloons, jet fighters, gliders, rock climbing. Love extreme sports. I love rally driving, all that sort of stuff. I love those things, but I think it's so good to challenge ourselves and to try to learn new skills. So if you're finding that you're in a bit of a rut, and you just want to get out. One, have a look at, are you actually a bit burnt out? Are you just constantly busy? Because your brain needs that quiet time. So, or are you surrounded by dicks, and you need to get rid of some of these people that are costing you so much emotional energy. They're energy vampires.
Yeah.
Like I said, find people that you feel better for the experience of being with them. And I'm just so fortunate to have such amazing people in my life, both in my working life and, my friendships and my relationship and things that, I do feel that wonderful energy. And surround yourself with that good stuff. And so once you've got a little bit of energy, you reduce some burnout and you start looking at your habits. And if you want to recognize what some of your habits at home are, and you've got a pet, they will tell you what your habits are.
A child will.
A
child will, for
yeah,
sure.
They are amazing pattern recognition filters, My dog can be anywhere in the universe, and if my sock drawer opens, is there. We going to the park, Dad? We going to the car? Where are we going? What are we doing? What are we doing?
You keep the ball in the sock drawer. That's a key takeaway from today. That Troy keeps his ball in the sock drawer.
No, it's just the socks are going on. That means shoes. That means going somewhere. That means the keys. Maybe if she's getting the keys, are we going somewhere? So I've actually had to temper that sometimes and say to him, "No, mate, you're not coming." And the look of depression on his face is, "But well, maybe we can, Dad."
I'm putting the socks away from the washing.
So now I just leave the washing basket there and I just take them out of the washing basket. But then when he hears the little tinkle of the shoe getting lifted off the ground. He can be upstairs, a quarter of a mile away. I'll still hear it. But he'll identify those habits, and he'll know when I'm feeling good, when I'm feeling bad, and he'll give me those cuddles. But he'll also hold me accountable and make me throw a ball for him. So have friends that will, if you don't have a pet, have friends that will come around and give you a cuddle and give you a hug and watch 300 with you, and then they'll tell you to get off your ass, and just get into it.
I hope you appreciate my text messages that I've been sending you.
You do. You hold me accountable, mate.
I do. Have you been
do.
going to the gym, Troy?
Yeah. And then
I'm like, oh no, I got a sore back now. I roll my eyes. I'm like, okay.
Done my shoulder.
Is that,
getting
is
old.
that an excuse?
And then I'll send a photo, of me next to the dumbbells, sort of thing.
That's true.
I go, and this, if everyone's...
Not that you need motivation, but I like that we can be accountability buddies.
Yeah, but I think that's really important. Fiona and I were sort of talking about that this morning, and she's constantly sort of trying to go, but she likes going for a run if she's got other people there with her. So to have me, her daughter, Neo, my dog, with us,
that's
it makes it more enjoyable.
Accountability buddies. I think
and then we all did it, So yeah, it was good for everyone.
It's lovely. It's good. It sounds nice. Like I said, it sounds like you've got a great support network. I think that's a great way to close it out.
Yeah.
I think we're about to run out of battery. I'm about to run out of SD card space. It's all culminating.
Perfect timing.
Hey, thanks for joining me here in Hosier Lane. I hope this isn't this is one of many more times that we'll catch up.
I hope
sure.
so too, mate.
But
the sign is still up. We're about to go.
I know it's
the
about
battery's running
the
out.
last
We've had some amazing people walking past and giving us some photos. You've been winking your ass off.
Well, you got to smile for the people that are taking photos of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Winking. I've got to practice winking through the other eye. On that note, thanks so much, Troy. It's been great to have you, man. Thank you.
Cheers, bro. Whoa. Clap. Give it the clap. Boom.
Boom.